Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Greyboard Gamer here with the continuing saga of Eldritch Horror. We just had a huge heat wave sweep across the world, knock 3 of our investigators on their butts. Not a lot's going to happen as far as actions this turn, but maybe we can get some of these gates closed. Maybe some good will come of our inability to move out of our current locations. Our lead investigator is Norman Withers, who is going to stand up for his action. Next we have Akachi in Istanbul. Akachi's health is down to 2. I'm going to have her heal for her first action, at least get her back up to 3. And her influence is 3. I'm going to have her test it there in Istanbul to see if we can gain some items from the reserve. Akachi has an influence of 3 and only has 1 success. Akachi only had 1 success. There is an item, a trinket, that's available for 1. It's the pocket watch, and this will keep her from becoming delayed unless she chooses to be delayed. We need to add an item to the reserve, and it is an axe that can come at the cost of 2. It'll give us 2 plus 2 during combat encounters to our strength test. And you can spend 2 sanity to reroll any number of dice when resolving a strength test during a combat encounter. So the axe will be available in the reserve. Next we have Jim Colver, who can just stand up and get ready to face that Hound of Tindalos. Now, several rounds back, I used this shriveling spell once, and I forgot to flip the card when I resolved the result. And on the back of the card, and I only got 1 success, and it says the ritual echoes in your head until it becomes gibberish. Discard this card unless you lose 2 sanity. Now, I never used it again, so in order to not lose the 2 sanity, which is all that he has left right now, I'm just going to discard it now, and it should not affect the outcome or what would have happened during the game, since we never used it again, and his sanity would have been down to 0 if I would have held on to it anyway. So I don't think any harm came, but I'm glad I noticed it and was able to correct it. And Mark will stand up in London. Our first encounter for our lead investigator is Norman Withers in that city space. A shady figure offers to sell you a weapon, no questions asked. You speak with him to determine his motives. Test influence. Norman only has an influence of 1, so hopefully he's effective at negotiating for this weapon. And he is not. But what I'm going to do is, on his player card, once per round, he can spend 1 sanity in place of spending 1 clue. So I will spend 1 of his sanity, which will take him from 6 down to 5, give him a clue that he can spend to re-roll, and still be unsuccessful. If you fail, the undercover policeman arrests you. Gain a detained condition. Well, poor Norman. He's going to gain, there's a detained condition right on top. And with detained conditions, he can't do anything except the local action on that card. That's bad news for Norman. Next for Akachi. She has her encounter in Istanbul. Members of the Turkish parliament offer you help in exchange for clearing a group of cultists outside of the shunned mosque. Improve influence. Ooh, right off the bat. Well, that's not so bad. She already had an improvement of influence, so she gets to take her influence and improve it up by 2, which will give her a total influence of 4 now. And let's continue on. Inside, you interrupt a ritual and must resist the effect of its magical energies. Perform a will test. Luckily for Akachi, she's not weak-willed and has a will of 4 and has a success. There was no success text on that card for Istanbul, so she didn't get any negative effect because she passed. Next we have Jim, who will be encountering this slightly wounded Hound of Tindalos. First we have to do the will test. Jim has a will of 3, and he gets 1 additional die because investigators on his space roll 1 additional die when resolving tests during combat encounters. And I believe I forgot to add that extra die on to his will test on all his previous ones. So he's got 4 chances at resisting and has 2 successes. That's a real good start to this because this creature has a will test of 2, so Jim does not lose any will. Next he will do the strength test. He has a strength of 2, gains an additional because of his passive ability. It's at a -1 disadvantage against the Hound, who has a strength test of 3. And Jim has 1 success, which will cause another wound to the Hound of Tindalos. These two have been going at it for quite a while now. Jim had to take 2 damage because he only had 1 success against the 3 for the Hound. He's down to 1 health. The Hound of Tindalos has taken 2 wounds and is down to 1 health. One of these 2 is going to be taken out soon. This fight has been going on for quite a while. Finally, we have Mark up in London, who's going to attempt to close that blue gate leading to Lost Carcosa. Turning the corner, you suddenly find yourself on a stage. Other actors speak their dialogue and look at you expectantly. Someone off stage passes you a script, but the text is difficult to interpret. Lore test -1. Mark has to make a lore test to see if he can figure out what this script can say. It's a lore test -1. Mark only has a lore of 1. -1 would take him down to 0. You can't go below 1 with any of your tests, so he still gets to roll 1 die. And oh, nice! Mark is successful and figures his script out. The audience applauds your performance and the curtain falls. Close this gate. You consider sticking around for a second show in hopes of picking up details you missed the first time. You may become delayed to gain 2 clues. We get to close this gate in London. And do I want to become delayed to gain 2 clues? Mark has no clues, Akachi has none, Norman has 1, Jim has 4. We need clues to finish these things off. I could get Mark to the pyramids in 1 turn, but then he would become delayed in order to do that, so it would take 2 turns for him to get there. Jim's really far away. This is not a good situation. I'm going to choose to become delayed. Gain 1. 2 clues. And hopefully being delayed doesn't cause me too much harm, because he will stand back up in London, and in London the encounters have a chance of spawning more clue tokens. That takes care of our player encounter phase. Now we get our Mythos card, and I'm already dreading it because I see that reckoning symbol. But first, we have to adjust the Omen track. The Omen track moves to the green gate space, which has 2 Eldritch tokens on it. Because of those 2 Eldritch tokens, our Doom track will move down 2 from 8 to a Doom of 6 now. Next we have to deal with the reckoning symbol. We start with monsters, and of course our favorite, the Hound of Tyndalos, and Jim are going to go at it one more time. This will probably be the last time the Jim and this Hound go toe to toe. Jim has a will of 3, gets his additional die for his combat counter. So we're starting off with a will test of 2. He has 1 success, which means he loses a sanity and is down to 1. Now we do the strength test. He has a strength of 2 plus 1 for his passive ability, then it's minus 1. Because of the Hound. And he is unsuccessful, which means he will lose 3 more health, putting him down to 0 and killing or incapacitating Jim Colver. Actually, I want to try and take this thing out, so I'm going to spend one of Jim's clue tokens to get him an additional die. I'll spend another one. One more. Why not? Spend all of them. Jim is successful with 1 attack, doing 1 more damage to the Hound, and since the creatures and the investigators do damage simultaneously, they both will succumb to their wounds. Whenever an investigator is defeated, you move him to the nearest city space. He's already on one. We'll lay him on his side, put a health token on him to designate that he went down because of physical wounds. Whenever an investigator is defeated, Doom is advanced by 1, so it will move from 6 to 5. And we continue with our reckoning effects. Now another investigator can come and have an encounter with Jim, as long as they are on that space during the encounter phase. The serpent people, we need to roll a die, and on a roll of 1 or 2, the closest investigator will move 1 space towards the serpent people. We're hoping to roll anything but a 1 or a 2. Oh, it's a 2. Someone's going to move towards the serpent people. Currently both Mark and Norman are within 4 spaces, or 4 moves. 1, 2, 3, 4, yes, 4 of the serpent people. Now, thematically, I think it would only make sense that the investigator that's not delayed would be the one that got drawn in closer. So I'm going to have Norman move 1 space closer to the serpent people. Now we know the reckoning effect for the Shoggoth is that it regains all its health. It hasn't lost any, so that's nothing we have to worry about. And the cultist would be on the Ancient One card, which there is no reckoning effect on the Ancient One card, so we don't have to deal with anything there either. Next, we have our Secrets of the Past. So we're going to take our current expedition, which is at the pyramids, and discard all of them. And next, our expedition is going to move over here next to the serpent people in the Amazon, and the pyramid cards will get discarded from the game. We took care of the reckoning effect on our active mythos cards. Norman has his blessed condition that he has to test because of the reckoning effect, and he has to roll one die, and on a 1 or a 2 he will have to discard his blessed condition. The way things are going, we're going to want to have Norman Withers keep that blessed condition, so we want anything but a 1 or a 2. Oh, not good. Norman has lost his blessed condition. Now, let's see. We have another gate opening up. This gate we know is another red one that's going to appear in Sydney. We need to spawn a monster, and this time it is a zombie. Zombie appears in Sydney. You wake up in mid-scream and your heart is racing. What little you can remember of your nightmare was so visceral and horrific that you dread falling back asleep. Haunting nightmares. Each investigator loses 2 sanity and gains a madness condition unless they spend 1 clue. This game went from being going okay to getting a little bad to just downright terrible now. This game has become very brutal. So each investigator is going to lose 2 sanity and gain a madness condition unless they spend a clue. Norman Withers has a sanity that he could afford to lose. He has 5. He has a clue, but I want to keep it because we need it. And once per round, he may spend 1 sanity in place of spending a clue. Did he do that this turn yet? I think he did. And I don't want to gain a madness condition. He's already detained. I don't want to take him down to 3 sanity. We need our clues. I'm going to go ahead and gain a madness condition. So he'll gain paranoia and lose 2 sanity. Akachi has no clues, so she will gain the next madness condition, which are hallucinations, and lose 2 sanity. She had 7, and now she is down to 5. And then we have Mark, and he has 4 sanity, and will gain the next madness condition is amnesia. Lose 2 sanity and be down to 2. This was an absolutely brutal turn for us. We lost an investigator to physical wounds. We still have several gates open, 4 red gates, so if that Omen track moves twice, our doom is going to go all the way down to 1 maybe. It will be on the brink of losing this game. I believe we only have 2 locations left for the active expedition encounter. If we lose them, the game's over. Everyone has a madness condition. Norman's paranoid. Akachi's having hallucinations. Mark has amnesia. Norman is detained. Mark is delayed, although that was our choice. So we got a lot of bad stuff going on. We need to see if we can turn it around in the next turn and try and make some progress towards solving this mystery and getting rid of this horrible secret to the past. We need to get another investigator. I'll randomly draw one and introduce them at the beginning of the next turn. Thank you for joining me. Thank you for watching me get beaten down by this game. I hope to see you at the next one. Thanks again.